Hey guys, it's Melissa and I'm back to finally do a Q&A. Now I received a bunch of really good questions from you guys, so hopefully I'll be able to get to most of them, and if I don't, I'll try to answer them in the next videos, and I'm only planning on doing 4 of them. But if it ends up being a really popular thing, I'll try to make more videos for them, but of course it's all going to depend on what you guys ask me. So the character I'm drawing is Erio Touwa from the anime Denpa Onnna to Seishun Otoko. And it was a really good series. But if you watch the first episode, I'm not gonna lie, it looks pretty weird, but it gets way better afterwards, and by the end of the series, really overall it just ended up being a really heartwarming and insightful anime show. So, on to the questions. My first question is, how long have you been drawing? I've always had a passion for drawing ever since I was around 4 or 5 years old, and it was just something that came pretty naturally to me. I remember when I was in kindergarten, my teacher told my parents that I was really talented at drawing and I should become an artist when I get older, so ever since then, it really encouraged me to keep getting better and create new things. But the time I really consider my start in drawing was 5 years ago when I started drawing anime and realism, and during this time I really improved my skills in anatomy and perspective and all the other basics of drawing. I also started to be more observant of real-life forms and anatomy, because before then, I was always drawing characters from my imagination. For many long years, I didn't really use any references, so once I finally used them, I dramatically got better, and I started to get a feel for how things should be drawn. Question number 2 is, how many Copic markers do you have? I have 46 individually bought Copic markers. Question 3 is, what is your favorite art utensil to use? And that's a really difficult question to answer because I use a bunch of mediums, my favorite mediums being liquid mediums, but I have to say Copic markers because they're clean, they're convenient, they're easily blendable, and their colors are really vibrant. Question 4 is, what is your favorite style to draw in? I'm assuming they wanted me to answer a specific style, but I really like to just draw in my own style, which is a combination of a bunch of different ones like anime, realism, some Disney, just a whole bunch of things, and I like to take little bits and pieces of them, combine them together to make my own style. You might have noticed, but my style isn't very strongly solidified just yet, because there are bits and pieces that always fluctuate. But I can never settle on just one because I'm just so interested in learning a bunch of new styles and trying to just build up on my own and create something original. I always get bored of just drawing the same things each time, so I just like to change it up and even do some new things like abstract or post-impressionism and all a bunch of other art movement styles. Question 5 is, have you ever had artist block? And if so, how do you suggest to fix it? I actually don't have artist block that often these days, but when I do have to deal with it, I usually just drop everything and relax, or I'll just preoccupy myself with something else. For me at least, inspiration isn't really something that you can force out of yourself. It usually just comes when you feel inspired. So I think it's best to just forget about everything, keep a clear mind, just relax. Maybe do this for about 2 days at most. And once you start to feel like you want to draw again, just start exploring things that inspire you. A lot of times when an idea just pops into my head, I'll just sketch it down on a little piece of paper, just a really quick thumbnail, and whenever I want to draw something, I'll come back to it and I'll start drawing it. And you never want to miss an opportunity to find some inspiration and sketch it down, because it'll save you a lot of time when you're trying to draw something new, and you just can't get the ideas out of you when you force them. So for every little idea that I have, I usually keep it in a little folder or stick it in my sketchbook or something like that, and I always come back to it. And it could just be when you wake up in the morning and you have this new idea, you're at school in class and you have an idea. It could be anywhere, so I recommend just carrying a sketchbook around, like a little tiny one, and just writing down your ideas there. So hopefully once you've relaxed yourself, you feel refreshed, and you have a bunch of ideas that you've already jotted down previously, you can overcome your art block and start drawing happily again. Question 6 is, how old are you? And I've gotten this so much. It's on my DeviantART, it's on my YouTube, so I'm guessing people just don't look at it, but I am 16 years old. My birthday was on May 8th, which was just a few months ago, so I've recently turned 16. Question 7 is, what markers did you use for the line art? And they're referring to my pandemonium drawing. And was it the double-ended or the illustration markers? Actually, for that drawing, I just used Prismacolor multi-liners, the orange and the purple ones, and 0.05. On that note, I always post the materials that I use for each drawing in the description below my pictures, so if you're curious, then you can always look at those. Question 8 is, do you ever plan on doing tutorials, specifically one on how to draw hair? Now, I've gotten a lot of requests to do tutorials in the past. People want to know how I draw hair, but the truth is, this channel is not specifically supposed to be a tutorial channel. It was primarily supposed to be a channel where I could just do speed paints and time-lapse drawings, so I'm not sure if I'll really be doing a lot of tutorials in the future. But I am planning on doing at least 1 or 2 tutorials. But if you're going to request a tutorial, please do not ask me something really basic, like how to draw a face, or how to draw eyes or something like that. But I'll definitely try to do a hair tutorial, and maybe a coloring tutorial sometime in the future. Question 9 is, do you have any tips for using Prismacolor markers? Well, my number 1 tip would be to try to color in smooth, close together lines if you're using the fine tip, so that the colors can blend together easily. And if you want a dark to light gradient, you would first take your lighter color and lay it down in a thin layer first. So it's okay if this layer is streaky, because you're just going to end up layering colors over it anyways. Then take your darker color and use the feathering technique, which is just a flicking motion that you do with your markers so that it fades out from dark to light. And once that's finished, you just take that same lighter color and color over everything to blend it out evenly. Now, you don't have to add a lighter base layer, but I think if you're using Prismacolor markers, it's just much easier to get a smooth gradient if you do use a base layer. Another tip would be to not color in small little circles, because usually sometimes on marker packages they'll tell you to color in those circular motions so you don't create streakiness when you color, but really it just wastes ink and it oversaturates the paper, so it's much easier to just color in little smooth lines. Also, oversaturating the paper can usually lead to color bleeding out of the lines, and also for little splotches to start building up over your coloring. So coloring in thin layers can really help you avoid oversaturation, and if it already happened, you can take a colorless blender, and I'm pretty sure Prismacolor has a colorless blender, and you can just go over the area and lightly take off the color. So shading with Prismacolor markers is a little bit tricky at first, but once you get the hang of shading and blending things, it'll be really easy. Question 10 is, how do you mix Copic and Prismacolor so well? And really, the key to mixing medias well together is to 1. Know how to properly use the media, 2. Knowing the effects that the media can give, and 3. Knowing how the medias interact with each other. So you should always experiment combining new media with each other, because you never know what kind of surprising things you can get. Like with this drawing, I got so much out of using colored pencils and markers and pastels and acrylic paint and just mixing them all together and seeing the different textures and layers I can create. Question 11 is, are you planning to go into an animation or an art school after high school? Most people find this pretty surprising, but I'm actually not going to pursue art as a career in the future, and I'm actually going into engineering, specifically software engineering. And I've thought about it a lot, so I'm positive I'm going to go into engineering, but of course that might change in the future as, you know, I see more opportunities in different careers. I want to get into the field for a variety of reasons. It just seems really interesting to me. And just a few days ago, I did visit the college of my choice, which is a technology institute, and it just looked really fun and exciting to me. So that's the career I'm going to pursue as of right now. Some of the reasons why I chose not to go into art as a career were, I like to keep art as a personal thing for myself. I don't really want to commercialize it or anything like that. I just like to do it for fun, and I want to stick to it for fun. So, you know, I'll never stop doing art, of course, and actually might be doing it as a side career. I am a little weak on the subject of becoming an artist in the future, just because my parents were never really supportive of the idea of me becoming an artist, or just me practicing art in general. And they're not doing it because they don't care about me, but it's just that they have high expectations, and you know the deal if your parents are also like that, and they don't really support your choice in art. But I'm not doing it just because of them. Like, I want to have a choice in what I want to be when I get older, and I respect that they want the best for me as well. I'm actually pretty curious to see if you guys have parents that feel the same way about art, and if they do, it'd be awesome if you guys could leave a comment saying stuff about your experience. But if you want me to elaborate more on this topic, I can in the next Q&A, but just leave a question or something so that I know you guys want me to talk about this. Because I know it's really difficult when parents don't really support your decisions or the things that you like. So that was the first Q&A, and I still have a few questions that I have to answer, which I'll save for the next one. But please guys, ask me some questions. I really want to continue doing Q&As, so ask as many questions as you want. And this is just the first part, so there will be a second part coming soon. And thank you guys so much for watching. Have an awesome day.